Welcome into the Cowboys Report, made possible today by Manscaped. You guys can get 20% off on free shipping on every single one of their men's grooming products by using promo code Cowboys over at manscaped.com. Some trade rumors, or maybe it's just trade hopefulness, to begin today's show on defensive tackle Chris Jones. Now, Jones is holding out of Chiefs training camp, which is fairly rare for a player since the new CBA came about, because there is a $50K per day fine that can no longer be rescinded. So every day Jones is not present at Chiefs training camp, he's getting fined. And the report is the two sides aren't even very close to a deal, which should raise some significant red flags for the Chiefs. And I frankly wouldn't really bring this up in most contexts, because the Chiefs are contenders. Chris Jones is the top 3, top 4, top 5, whatever, defensive tackle. He's awesome. There's no way they trade him. But they did trade away Tyreek Hill. So I actually do think it's worth mentioning and discussing in terms of they've done it once before, and they're not actually that aggressive spending-wise, despite still doing some of it, worth considering. So some pros and cons here of a trade idea. Now, the pros to start, and we'll go more in depth on all of these here in a little bit. You get elite play at defensive tackle. That fills your biggest need at the spot, right? You don't really have that dynamic impact 3 technique. Chris Jones is that dude. He becomes, I think, your second best defensive player behind Micah Parsons, and in that same tier of him, too. This would be the Cowboys actually going all in, which would be nice after years of being a bit more cautious, maybe what they should be. He also, on the negative side, it's going to be expensive to trade for him and pay him. A lot more on that in a little bit. He's already 29 years old, and if you add Chris Jones and pay him what it costs, knowing the way the Cowboys actually operate would probably limit them to a certain extent in terms of who else they would end up paying. But let's go more on the positives here. The player you're getting is special. Chris Jones is one of, if not the best, non-Aaron Donald defensive tackles in the NFL. It's a competition between him, Quinnen Williams, Jeffrey Simmons. That's about it for me. Those are the top 4 defensive tackles. 17 TFLs, 5.5 sacks last year. He's had a bunch of sacks in previous years too. The dude is an awesome special player. He's going to command an awesome and special contract as well. And this is the biggest issue for Dallas, is that when Jones signed that $20 million a year deal, it wasn't that far behind Aaron Donald. Then Aaron Donald got paid again. And Donald's deal is so far out there beyond everybody else's, the market is still closer to Chris Jones's than Aaron Donald's deal. But Quinnen Williams makes $24 million per year. Jones is going to turn 30 next year, which is old for a defensive tackle in most cases, but he's just as productive still. I can easily see Chris Jones at minimum saying, I want $25 million. If not, you should make me just highest paid behind Aaron Donald like we did last time, which would be a potential issue for the Dallas Cowboys, and I think is the issue right now for the Chiefs. You do have some young defensive pieces. There's Osa Odigizua, there's Mozzie Smith, Chauncey Golston. So Dallas does have pieces, but none of them are Chris Jones. And that's why he'd be so expensive to trade for, as we'll get into here a bit more in depth. But I do want to hear your guys' thoughts. Would you trade for Chris Jones? Y for yes, N for no. This is today's pinned comment. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, cool. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Now, I do want to mention the Chiefs did do a blockbuster trade for one of their premier players previously. They got a first, a second, a fourth, another fourth, and a fifth for Tyreek Hill a few years ago, which, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, so it probably worked out for them as they've spent money elsewhere. But Kansas City has not been as aggressive spending as they could be if they wanted to. They don't spend this amount of cash the Philadelphia Eagles do. Jones is probably worth spending that. As for what it would cost, something like this maybe for Dallas, I'm really not sure, because the timing of a deal is much different. You can't just do picks. Hurts the Chiefs' chances of repeating. So a first minimum you have to move. I'll throw in Osa Odigizua, as you're not going to need him anymore, so give him a player back. And a conditional third. I'm really not entirely sure what the market would look like for Chris Jones, but I assume it'd be hella expensive if the Chiefs were silly enough to trade him away. I would say it's even tougher to find that rare, impactful defensive tackle than it is to find the wide receiver. So what is the percent chance you think the Chiefs actually trade Chris Jones? In general, not even just the Cowboys, but in general, percent chance they choose to trade him. Sound off for me in the comment section. Is it 0%? Is it 4%? 5%? What is it? Go vote in the comment section. Percent chance the Chiefs actually trade away Chris Jones. Look, they did do it once with Tyreek Hill, which we probably wouldn't be discussing this if they hadn't done it with Tyreek Hill, because I never thought they'd trade Tyreek, and then they did. It probably won't happen twice. I think you're looking at somewhere in the range of maybe a couple percentage points, if that. They found a way to replace Tyreek Hill that offseason. They couldn't replace Jones in the same fashion with just the timing of everything. So I think it's pretty damn unlikely they end up moving him. But if they do, you owe it to yourself to at least call, despite that not always being the Cowboys' MO. Today's Cowboys Report is made possible by Manscaped. I want to talk about self-care for a little bit on today's show. Make sure you're taking care of your stuff downstairs and your stuff up here with the full package from Manscaped. That includes the Performance Package 4.0, everything you need for below the waist. The Lawnmower 4.0, the Weed Whacker 2.0, helps out up here, by the way, with your ear hair and or nose hair, if you have it, or give it to your dad or grandpa if they need it. The Performance Package 4.0 includes the most comfortable boxers known to mankind, ball toner, ball deodorant as well, and they also have the Beard Hedger, taking care of this part of your face, or of your other head, I should say. You can get all that you see on screen right there. You get the Beard Hedger, a bunch of additional products to make sure everything is looking sharp and make you feel like yourself again and take charge of your life with Manscaped. Don't neglect your beautiful self this summer. Get right with Manscaped. Links in the comment section and the description of today's show. It's manscaped.com, promo code Cowboys. Let's talk, could Malik Hooker potentially go on the physically unable to report list for the Dallas Cowboys? So I was surprised this. Hooker told Pro Football Network, our friends over there, he hasn't been fully cleared yet from his thumb surgery, which he played through last year. And Hooker also did participate some minicamp, per the reports from the open media sessions there and during OTAs. So that means there's a chance he's on the PUP list to begin training camp, but I'd be a little bit surprised if that was the case since he was involved some at minicamp. Here's what Malik Hooker told PFM. It's feeling great. It's healthy. It's not really a big deal. I played all last year with it, so it's going good. I'm happy to have all my fingers back. Because remember, he had the full wrap brace thing on his hand. I don't think Hooker is the most likely candidate for the PUP list, but there are some names I want to mention here as kind of a precursor to training camp. I bet Jordan Lewis starts in the PUP list. He's not back yet from that brutal foot injury, so we'll wait and see on that front. Luke Schoonmaker, the Cowboys said he'll be good to go for camp. We'll see. Had the minor foot injury, some plantar fascia irritation at minicamp/OTAs. Terrence Steele, Tony Pollard will be good to go, I believe. Steele maybe a bit more like 60-40. We'll wait and see. They could still be a bit cautious there because you can't put someone on the PUP list afterward, only before training camp gets going. And I want to keep an eye on Deshaun Wright. He wasn't involved at OTAs and minicamp due to a minor knee injury. It's been about a month. Is he now feeling good to go? We'll wait and see. Are you guys excited for Cowboys training camp? If you are, hit that sub button right now to make sure you are staying up to date with everything. We're going to have so much Cowboys training camp coverage for you here on the show, so make sure you guys are subscribed. Malik Hooker, more on him here. There's been some conversation about how good he is, how impactful he is, how important he is. There's another article out there about him maybe being more important than Jayron Kearse. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow. Who knows? But he is a key part of your defense. You know, Jayron Kearse, Donovan Wilson, I think a bit better in the box. Wilson is better coming downhill from the free safety spot than he is going side to side, at least that's my opinion. But Hooker's still a solid football player. I think he's definitely third, though, on this safety bunch. So what do you think? Who is the best safety on the Cowboys of the big three, the three-headed monster, as they like to call themselves, which I love because they finally care about safeties, and it makes me happy. JK for Jayron Kearse, DW for Donovan Wilson, or MH for Malik Hooker. Who's the best safety? Go vote in the comments. We're going to wrap up today's show with Ezekiel. I didn't even plan on doing this. We were going to do it like last week, and then I scrapped it because there was other more important things to get to. And I'm like, you know what? The Twitter account pissed me off the other night, so I'm going to do it again and body them. So the return rumors, reports, blah, 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 continue to circulate. So ML Football on Twitter, which is one of the worst accounts out there. It's right up there with NFL Rookie Watch and NFL Rooms, They make up stuff, they steal information without getting credit, claim they have inside sources, and also just don't know ball at all, said this a couple days ago. Elliott seems likely to end up back in Dallas in a Cowboys uniform. 1 year minimum deal to back up Pollard, blah, blah, blah. That tweet goes off for 1.3 million views on social media. Then, a few hours later, they go, update. A source familiar says Zeke is extremely unlikely unless Dallas has multiple injuries and or ineffective play. That tweet did less than 69K. Nice views. What's the old line? A lie can make its way around the world before truth puts its pants on, or something like that. That's what happens there. Oh, by the way, you're going, how did that change so quickly? Well, they made up the first part. That's how that happened. That first part sounds familiar, though. That second part of multiple injuries, etc., it should sound familiar. We've discussed this in the past too. Here's what Jane Slater recently said about signing Zeke. You'd think they're kicking it around at the Star in Frisco, but I circled back to one of my sources and told it was, quite frankly, just not talking about it. When I asked if there would be a situation where they would bring him back, it sounds like the same answer from a number of teams. It would require an injury to one of their backs. That account is a fraud. It does not know sports. It does not know football. It steals and makes up information. So please stop tagging me in their tweets. They'll eventually block me when I continue to call them out on it. But to be clear, nothing's actually changed with Zeke. Now, if the Cowboys have a rough training camp go with some of their young backs, that could change. I bet he signed somewhere during training camp, but there is no likely to return for Zeke right now. The chance is still hovering in that 1 or 2 percentile because the Cowboys want to see what their young guys are, and Zeke's, I think, looking to play somewhere else in the end.